Film Cam podcast. I'm your host today, Narciso. I'm going solo. David and Javi couldn't make it today, but I'm sure they'll be here next time. We are trying to get back on track and start pumping these suckers out. So there'll be days where I'll be solo, David will be solo. Every once in a while, the Trinity will get back together. But till then, I'm your host for today. So new year. So I'm trying to start off with some of the films I missed out on in theaters. So today we're gonna talk about BladeRunner 2049, a movie which I regretfully didn't get to see it in theaters. I really wanted to see that cinematography on the big screen, but I just couldn't make it. So I just saw it on Monday. I'm a huge fanboy of Blade Runner, and it's sort of like one of those sci-fi opuses where it's treated as almost as a piece of art as much as it is a sci-fi film. So this was very touchy, especially when they do these remakes, well, not remakes, sequels, 30 years later or whatever. But I'm very happy with what I saw. I went into it with high expectations, but expecting to get punched in the gut, and thankfully it actually came through. The cinematography, the score, they did everything right. The director, Dennis, I think it's Villeneuve. He's awesome, man. You could tell this is a passion project, that he cared for the source material and he totally respected the original Blade Runner, because it's the same world. We're back in the same world 30 years later. It was good to see Harrison Ford in this and actually looked like he really truly gave a shit about what was on the big screen. Everybody in it gave it their all. Ryan Gosling, I think, was awesome. I'm a huge Ryan Gosling fan, probably because I love Drive so much. I felt like he totally grabbed the movie by the balls, and you cared about his character all the way through. I loved seeing Dave Bautista, even if it was just a small role in the opening scene. I think he's maturing as an actor more and more. If you put him in the right role, something about him, he just drives it home. He's really good at what those specific roles are, whether it's Guardians of the Galaxy or now this. I think things are just going to open up more for him as time goes on. I think Robin Wright is on fire right now, and just overall, the cast, everything was great. The main character to me of Blade Runner has always been the atmosphere. It's all about that cyberpunk, noir, sort of gumshoe underworld with the neon and all. And it's like they picked right up on that, and it's awesome to see that they went with model making, and they had these glorious scenes in the cityscapes, and it's all models and miniatures blended in with CGI, which is the best way to do special effects in movies, especially a sci-fi movie like this. I feel like if you just go full CG, we're pretty much gonna get like fucking Phantom Menace shit. Looks like shit, all CGI, garbled garbage. When you do real beautiful models and you just sprinkle in CGI to enhance it, forget it. There's nothing better than that. That's how science fiction, fantasy, just special effects in general should always be treated. Respect the past, use it for what it's good for, and take modern day technology and just enhance it. Don't just we don't need to make models anymore. Everything could be computer animated, because no. Any computer shitfest starts to look like garbled messes after a while. Just look at any of the Transformer movies or any of the giant catastrophe movies that they've made throughout the years. It's like after a while, it doesn't even feel real. It just feels like you're watching a computer game or something. It's just stupid. It's like a video game you're watching on the big screen. Blade Runner gets it down. Just the ambiance. They have the models. They have the smoky atmosphere, the desert scenes, the red lighting, the hard neon. it's just a beautiful, beautiful movie to look at. I think that another thing to touch upon was there's a small scene. I'm not going to give any spoilers away, but there is a somewhat cameo to the Sean Young character, and I think that that has to be possibly the best computer animated model of a person, an existing actor or actress on a movie right now at the moment. Period. Even with the Grand Moff Tarkington and even the young Leia in Rogue One, they're good, but to a trained eye, there's something always a little off, and you can tell that it's computer animation. Doesn't fully make you believe it. Something in your brain tells you, yeah, that's CGI. The model that they use for young Sean Young in this, I don't know if it was because of the lighting, but man, the glimmer in her eye, the way her face moved, her voice, I was like blown away. It literally looked like they cropped her out of the original Blade Runner and dropped her in here in high definition. It was incredible. It was very short. It was just one scene, but I was like floored. I didn't expect it. I didn't know that that scene was in it. Like by the time Rogue One came out and you went to see it, you already heard all the rumors and that they CGI'd Carrie Fisher young, and this I had no clue. So when it came to that scene, I was blown away. Sorry if I blew it for anyone who hasn't seen it. But then again, I am posting that there is some spoilers in this. It's not that big of a deal, but that cameo to me was just great. It was fantastic. Uh, Overall, like the bad guy in this, it's kind of difficult to, how do I say this? Nobody's gonna top Rutger Hauer as a villain in the original Blade Runner. But I think that the villain in this one, well, it's not really that she's a villain. Well, is the villain, but she's more like just kind of like a henchman. Uh, she was portrayed too much, like David said, like a Terminator, like a Terminatrix or whatever. She was too cold and too calculated in her movement and the way that she went about killing and stuff. It Replicants aren't robots; they're clones, whether they're super clones or whatnot. And yeah, a lot of them are cold in the way that they're wired, but they're not machines. And I feel like the character was a little too mechanical for my taste. She's pretty much Jared Leto's right hand woman, I guess. Uh, and she was good. She was good. I'm not gonna say that she was terrible or anything. She was good for what she was. It's just that the way that that role was written, I feel like they should have. I mean, okay, Rutger Hauer in part one, he was somewhat cold and cunning, but he was also very emotional. He was a ball of energy. Towards the end, he was just a madman. It's crazy. It was beautiful to watch him in action. This other character, I'm trying to remember who is the actress that played this character. I want to say it was. Oh goodness gracious! I can't remember her name now. But anyways, she was very much like a Terminatrix. She was just sent out on a mission. Go get Ryan Gosling's character and take him out practically. And I just feel like it was just too much. It was a little much at the end. But the fight scenes were very, very good. I feel like you could tell it was sort of like the Jaws scenario where she's coming after you. It's like no matter what he was trying to do or get away from, she was coming no matter what. It's like her protocol, and she was coming to get him one way or another. Harrison Ford comes in later in the movie than I expected him to. I would say maybe halfway through. But I thought he was fantastic. Like I said earlier, he actually looked like he gave a shit. I feel like for many years, Harrison Ford would always downplay and say that he wouldn't give a shit about reprising any of his roles like Han Solo or Deckard or anything like that. And I don't know if it's over time, whether it's the paychecks, or is it just because he sees how much it means to the fandom and how much people care about him and some of the roles he's played in the past, which opened the avenues for him to come back and reprise some of these roles. Even though he did Han Solo, and I know he insisted that they kill him off, but at least we got him for that one more role, and we got him again here, and I feel like it's awesome, and it's kind of like, what fucking time do we live in? We actually got another movie with Han in it, and we got another Blade Runner with Harrison Ford in it, even though more than likely he won't be back for a third. If they did a third, I know this movie didn't do too great in the box office, and it was a pretty expensive movie to make. So I don't know if they're gonna go ahead and ever make a third one. And if they did, I hope to God they will get Dennis Villeneuve again, if I'm pronouncing his name right. I think he did a fantastic job, and he would deserve to come back and play in this playground. Overall, I consider projects like this cringeworthy when you hear that they're finally going to go through and do a Blade Runner sequel 30 years later or whatever. Every time stuff like this happens, it shits on itself. It never, rarely, ever works out. So when it does, it kind of makes you truly appreciate what you just witnessed, because this is not the norm in Hollywood. We're used to god-awful reboots and remakes and horrible prequels and sequels. I swear to God, prequels should be a term that should be deleted from the Hollywood dictionary. They need to just stop with that shit. Make up your own stuff. And if you're going to do a actual sequel to what is considered to be a masterpiece or a cult film or any sort of long-standing film that has stood the test of time and has so much love in a community of film, and you're actually going to attempt to go back and do it, please just do it with the love that the original was made with. And I feel like this is what I call a stew. And this was a perfectly brewed stew. They sprinkled in all the right ingredients. They respected the past. They mimicked it. And they didn't just play it safe. Like, say, J.J. Abrams bringing back Star Wars and pretty much doing a practical reboot of the original. This is saying, okay, I'm going to do my own thing, but I'm going to do it in the same footsteps, and I'm going to do it in the same style, and I'm going to make sure that you're going to allow me to go and play in the same sandbox that Ridley Scott made and laid the foundation for. But I'm not just going to shit on it. I'm going to play it, and I'm going to play in it by his rules. And I'm going to play in it in rules that which Ridley Scott probably can't even redo himself anymore. As we see with all these alien movies. I'm going to play with it with the tools that they had back then, as well as the tools they have now. So not everything's going to be computer animated and shit. It's not going to be with a soundtrack filled with whatever latest pop stars are going to be doing the scores and soundtracks. No. They go ahead, they shoot a film, they respect the cinematography and the scope of the original. They get a cinematographer and they get an art direction where they're using models to match the original. It isn't like the original Star Wars trilogy and the Phantom Menace and all the prequels, and it's like, how the hell is that the same world? Everything is too shiny and too computer generated, beautifully perfect rendered world. And then you look at the original one and it's gritty and it's dirty and it's small because they didn't have the budget for that, and everything looks more realistic. This plays by those rules. They used models, they used old-fashioned techniques, they sprinkled in CGI only to enhance certain things. And then another very key ingredient, the score. It's all synthesized 80s style science fiction music, just pretty much there to match the ambiance of the original. And even though, yeah, it's a little bit more techno-y, organic than what the original one was, it fits beautifully. It's the same style. I'm gonna play for you now a little bit of the track from Blade Runner 2049. You heard a little bit of the original Blade Runner score in the beginning of this podcast. Listen to this, and you'll see how it's all in the same wavelength. It all blends together. Okay, now after you heard that, very 80s, isn't it? Very, very 80s sci-fi, where you would hear synth music on every other movie, even action movies. Everybody did synth. It's sort of a trendy thing now. There's a whole movement called retro wave, where it's like just artists that are just doing synth music all over the place now. You can see it on YouTube, and there's all kinds of Kavinsky. There's a bunch of artists that are doing this type of stuff now. And I love it, and I welcome it, and I hope it sticks around for a long, long time. And I hope I see a lot more of it in future movie and TV shows. Now, the movie is a little long-winded. That's one of the only pet peeves that I had today, is that, on Monday when I saw it. I think the runtime is actually 2 hours and 44 minutes. And I feel like it does not need to be anywhere near 2 hours and 44 minutes. I think it would have been just fine, maybe say 2 hours and 20 minutes, 2 hours and 15. I feel like there's a lot of little fatty stuff here and there that could be cut out. It was unnecessary, a little prolonged. I don't know, maybe the warehouse scenes, and so I don't want to get too much into detail, but there's a lot of stuff that is just very slow paced, and I don't mind it. The original is very slow paced. It goes at its own pace, and it's gonna take you where it's gonna go whenever it gets there. And the only reason it's tolerable is because the movie is just so damn fucking beautiful to look at, and you just care, and you just can't wait to see what happens next. You want to see what the next set piece is. Where are they gonna go next? How is it gonna look? They go to that abandoned Vegas city, and it's like, wow, look at the models, look at that, look at the desert. It looks like Mars almost. And you're just looking forward to the next thing and the next thing and the next thing. But it could have been a little bit shorter. And I think maybe that also could have hurt it in the box office. I think a lot of people see the runtime is at 2 hours plus, going on to 3 hours. And that may detract a lot of non-fanboys to sit through a science fiction flick like that. Another thing is, a lot of people like to turn their brain off and go see just, gibberish sometimes. And this is definitely not one of those films. You have to really get into it. It's a good plot. There's a lot of twists that makes you think that you're going one way, and you're convinced that this is going to be the character that is going to end up being what they're looking for. And then you start realizing this is too easy if that is the case. And it ends up not being the case. And then you go another direction. And it's one of those type of films. And it has a lot of little nuances and little characters. Another thing that I loved is that we got the little tiny cameo with Edward James Olmos playing the, well, now retired detective from the original Blade Runner, and he even does a little awesome Q&A with Ryan Gosling, and before he leaves, he like folds up and gives him a little origami animal, and you're like, ah, that's awesome. Great to fucking see that shit. I love when they connect it, and it's like, yes, it's the same world. It's just been X amount of years since the last time that you visited, and it's believable. You see all the actors are there. They're older. It just fits. You're like, yes, this makes sense. They're all there. Overall, though, Blade Runner, fucking fantastic. I think Blade Runner and The Shape of Water so far have been two of my all-time favorite movies I saw towards the end of the year and now at the beginning of the year. I hope that we get more directors of this quality, like the Denis Villeneuve and like Guillermo del Toro's, giving us nerd geek community the type of fantasy and sci-fi and just smart, beautiful movie experiences where you go into the movies not knowing what to expect, and when you leave you feel like you went literally into a storybook for a while. You really escaped, and it just, that world is going to stay with you forever. Blade Runner has always been one of my all-time favorite films. Everything about Blade Runner has always been something that for the rest of my life, things that I've liked, I have liked so many different other projects or things here and there, anime, cartoon, movies, TV shows, because they have elements that remind me of Blade Runner. So to see an actual Blade Runner sequel actually come out and be as good as it is, I can't. I'm a pig in shit. I can't complain. I can't ask for more. Yeah, I'm nitpicking when I say it's a little too long, but you know what? It's better to be a little bit too long and have more in that world than have nothing at all, or have a typical Hollywood bullshit regurgitated remake with like fucking whatever hot young teeny bopper is as the main role, have no Harrison Ford in it, slap the title Blade Runner 2049 on it and say, go here, go make us some money. So happy to see that they didn't go that route. And I'm actually glad Ridley Scott didn't direct it, because I feel like Ridley Scott, as much as I love him and respect him as a director, over time, like most, they change, and their style changes, and sometimes their own styles change, and they can't ever go back and mimic what their old style used to be. It's happened so many times, especially with him already with the Alien movies and stuff. He just can't mimic it. It's like he's good to do whatever he's good at the moment, but every time he tries to go back and do something where he has to go back to one of his original projects, I don't know, it's just something is missing. Like I keep saying the stew thing, but it's true. I feel like they forget certain ingredients, a la Lucas. I think when George got more and more technology disposed to him, he would abandon what got him there. And it's like, what makes the Star Wars movies, well, there's a lot of things that make it special, the original trilogy, but what I feel makes it timeless are the world building that they did, the models, the prosthetics, the practical effects. It's endearing. Some stuff looks fake and hokey, and other things look fantastic because they're actual physically there when they shot it. It's models with texture and cracks and dirt and stuff. And when you go back and you make everything computer animated and it looks shiny and new, it's like anything computer animated is going to be outdated within 3 to 4 years. You go back and you watch something like The Matrix Reloaded and all that shit, and it looks fucking awful. It's unwatchable. Keanu Reeves, all CG, looks like shiny, and it looks like a cartoon. It looks like a cartoon, and it's like it. You have to keep the real and enhance it and just make it a little bit better with computer animated. When you go full CG, you go full shit. It never works unless you're doing a full computer animated movie. That's a different story. But when you're doing a real film and you go shit bat crazy with blue screen and you lose all the physicality. For someone like me, I'm sure someone like you, people who have passion for film, we have a trained eye. You immediately get pulled out of that world, and you know that you're sitting in a theater watching garbage. You just get taken back by it, and it takes you out of the story. And once that happens, it only takes one time. That's it. It's over. The magic is over. The curtain has been raised. There's no going back now. And I feel like we need more quality directors that can juggle that 50-50. And those are the ones that make the films that... Actually, you know what? Those are the ones who I truly believe are going to be the next Spielbergs and Lucases. I love Guillermo del Toro. I know he went CG crazy with Pacific Rim, but I love Pacific Rim. And now he went back and he did Shape of Water, and he so deserved all the accolades he's getting, and I hope to God he gets an Oscar. I know he already got the nominations, but I hope he gets it. I think it opens more doors to the geeks of the world and for Hollywood to be more acceptant and have more belief, to put money and believe in the vision of the director. Don't say, oh, it'll be cheaper to do a computer animated. If the director has a vision and they see that more and more can come across with projects like this, I think we'll see more and more quality stuff coming out. At least I that's what I hope. So tired of the garbage that factory that Hollywood has become. It's pretty sad. So I'm hoping this happens more often. I know coming up is a movie I've been looking forward to so long now. I mean, I read the book, I want to say 3 years ago, and it's Spielberg coming back now. He's doing Ready Player One. I'm so passionate about that story that I hope he doesn't blow it. He's another one where it's like, I feel like he's lost his ingredients and some of his mojo to get back to... He's never going to get back to the Amblin days. But I'm just hoping he can capture the magic one more time for this fucking movie. Because this movie is pretty much a love letter and an opus to himself. I mean, Klein made a book basically just his open love letter practically to everything 80s and pop culture, but it's really a Spielberg opus. So much of the characters and stories and things that are going on revolve around everything he's made specifically in the 80s. And I hope he comes through with that one. I know I'm getting a little off topic, but couldn't help it. Looking very excited for that film. Hope they don't fucking blow it. But anyways, guys, I think that's enough rambling with Blade Runner, and I highly recommend it. If you haven't seen it, please go do so. Go rent it. Let them make a little bit of their money back so that maybe they can get more projects like this off the ground. Don't let 30 plus years go by of a movie before we can get a damn good direct sequel to a film. Blade Runner. Fucking great. Go watch it. Highly touted by me. Like always, guys, if you want to follow us, you can go to filmcanproductions.com. We're also on YouTube. Give us a like, give us a comment, give us an unlike. I don't care. Rate us. We're on iTunes for our podcast. We're on Podbean. Even if you don't like what I have to say, please let me know. Any comment and any feedback is welcomed, and we actually look forward to it. Like always, we're also on Twitter and Instagram and all that good stuff. If you go to the main website on filmcampproductions.com, it's pretty much the portal to all the other media outlets that we have. Thanks again. Thank you so much for listening to my rant today. I'm sure I'll be podcasting again pre-Oscars for our picks and probably post-Oscars. So keep your ears peeled. We'll be back sooner than you think. And thank you so much for listening once again. Till next time.